Of the third world, we examine why the death rate for babies in St. Louis is worse than in some third world countries. St. Louis likes to think of itself as a town centered around families and children. So here's a question. If we value children so much, why are so many of them dying before their first birthdays? A child born in Fidel Castro's Cuba has twice the chance of living until age 1 than a child born in the city of St. Louis. Twice the chance. And a child born near where I am now at the corner of St. Louis Avenue and Goodfellow on the north side is less likely to live until age 1 than a child born in some Southeast Asian countries. Why? And why are black infants dying at twice the rate of white babies? Not all of us may like the answers, but all of us should be doing something to stop it. Iris Burns-Jones is one of the lucky ones. Despite epilepsy and high blood pressure, she delivered triplets, and despite being premature, Lynn, Lena, and Leah all lived. Robert Sims was one of the unlucky ones. His mom, Rosalind Sims.
I had Robert. He was premature. He weighed less than a pound when he was born. He was on a breathing machine at that time. They had to sedate him because they didn't want him moving around to burn up his good fat. They wanted him to grow. I just talked to him just like I would my other two and tell him to grow. You gotta grow. You gotta eat and grow, and that's what he began to do. His heart became enlarged, and he died because of his heart being enlarged. He just gave up.
Statistics are stunning. In the 63120 zip code straddling Interstate 70 on the north side, a baby is less likely to live until age 1 than a baby born in the Southeast Asian nation of Malaysia. In fact, a baby born in Jamaica or Bosnia or Ukraine, the home of Chernobyl, all of them have a better chance of living until age 1 than a baby born in St. Louis City.
Most of us that do this are incredibly frustrated, very embarrassed for St. Louis.
In fact, among the 100 largest American cities, only Cleveland, Detroit, and Memphis have worse infant mortality rates than St. Louis. Rosalind Sims lost Robert after 9 months because of complications from her preeclampsia brought on by high blood pressure. But for most other St. Louis babies who are dying, the reasons are more disturbing.
The factors that enter into it is drugs, is alcohol, is, like I said, the poverty level in some of these zip codes, lack of resources.
Nurses for Newborns is a St. Louis group that provides in-home care for new mothers, including the ones who deliver prematurely.
Some of our clients, some have telephones, some are in shelters, some are homeless, some are in houses that are run by slumlords with high lead levels.
So the best indicator of potential infant mortality is grinding poverty, but it's more than being poor, much more.
Some of it is poverty, okay? Some of it is just that poor people aren't used to going to see doctors. There's more unwanted pregnancies if you aren't have access to care to get contraception.
And here's where the crisis of dying babies in St. Louis gets caught in the crossfire of the culture wars. Experts say cutting the infant mortality rate begins with preventing unwanted or risky pregnancies. In other words, contraception. Well, that creates a firestorm with cultural conservatives and with the Catholic Church, who believe that contraception equals abortion equals murder.
I think the state has made a conscious effort not to provide adequate prenatal care and preconception planning. I think that they have tried to make sure that funding doesn't go to abortion, and in order to ensure that that doesn't happen, they basically have decided to do away with family planning.
What's the result of that?
I think the result of that is that people do not have access to adequate family planning opportunities, and because of that, people are getting pregnant unplanned pregnancies, and that can lead to higher infant mortality rate.
Two factors that also help combat poverty is teaching birth control. You know, I tell my 12-year and 13-year-old mom, you can still have your dreams with one child, but if you have 2 children, it's 2 times unlikely that you're going to.
Besides contraception, the culture wars about infant mortality also heat up when it comes to personal responsibility. A lot of pregnant women whose babies die have all sorts of bad habits.
There is health disparity in our community. There is a lot of issues that are going on. The most prevalent problem that I run across, obviously, is poverty and all the issues that go along with poverty. You have drug abuse, you have alcoholism, you have domestic violence.
Substance abuse, alcohol use during pregnancy, smoking, those women who start late prenatal care and those who have inadequate prenatal care and poverty.
Nurses for Newborns Linda Spina helped deliver that kind of care to teen mother Heather Brockman. Heather saw how some of her friends acted during their pregnancies.
I know one now who is pregnant and drinking and all that, and she didn't quit anything, and I totally do not agree. I figure they didn't ask to be here, they need every chance to survive.
Unfortunately, since we did this interview, Heather apparently ran off with her old boyfriend. Her mother and grandmother fear she's back to her old habits with alcohol and drugs. Meanwhile, the baby, little Stephen, well, he's been left in their care. Some people ask if single moms like Heather make lousy decisions, and if those decisions endanger or even help kill their infant, why should I care?
The victim is the baby. The baby didn't have anything to do with it, and he's the innocent victim. And that's what you have to understand. Yes, it seems unreasonable to say we should be putting our hand out and helping walk women through this system to get better prenatal care. But what we're doing is we're making an investment in our next generation, our children.
To say that this is beyond some other individual's responsibility doesn't make any sense. They could be as selfish as they want and say, I am only accountable for myself, but they are affected by every other individual in the community.
This gets caught up in political jargon and budget cutting. They look at the budget numbers, but they don't look at the implications and what those budget numbers are actually purchasing. And they're actually purchasing health care services and prevention services for our citizens.
What seems to be missing in all of this is good old-fashioned anger. We and our political leaders are capable of getting angry over all sorts of issues, real or imagined. Gay marriage, flag burning, abortion. But not one political leader yet has come out and said in so many words that having this many babies die before their first birthday is flat out unacceptable.
The reason that we, as a first world country, lag behind our other industrialized countries in terms of infant mortality is primarily an issue of social will. We have the technology, we have the relevant personnel and resources. We simply don't give women access to those resources because we don't give them health insurance while they're pregnant. We make them feel as if when they have health insurance, you know, they might be victimized some way by the federal government. There are many barriers to women's gaining access to adequate prenatal care.
And Missouri has made it worse by hacking away at Medicaid benefits.
People who are already stressed, who don't have a lot of time, have trouble with transportation, you know, have a lot of things going on in their lives and don't have a lot of extra resources, all of a sudden you add another stressor and make it harder to get care.